Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, or good morning, or good evening, depending on where you're joining us from. My name is Eunice Baguma Bol. I'm the co-founder of Ishango.ai, which is hosting the event today, and I will be doing a brief introduction about who we are. Today's event is about African data scientists, an untapped talent pool. This is something that's very core to what we do at Ishango. We believe there is a huge amount of talent in Africa that remains untapped. And our goal as a company, and actually for the discussion today, is to really showcase why that's an opportunity for companies, why that's an opportunity for creating social impact. I'll just do a quick 2-minute introduction about Ishango and what we do. We are a bridge between Africa's top talent and global businesses. We run a fellowship program that is focused on building the skills and talent of African data scientists, building their professional skills, their technical skills, by giving them the opportunity to gain real-world experience working on projects for international companies. Our goal is to bring high-skill data science jobs to Africa. And like I said before, we want to demonstrate the talent that's available and the fact that it can compete and operate at a global stage and level. So we run this fellowship program, like I said, and I'll in the next slide, I'll talk you through the process of how it works. We first of all find projects and scope them out with international companies. These are companies that have a data need, data-based challenge or project that they need working on. We then go out and select and find the best graduates, best technical talent from across African universities, working in partnership with universities such as the African Institute of Mathematical Sciences. We then match fellows to projects depending on their skills and background and also where they want to go with their career goals. And then we work on project delivery. This is during the 8-week fellowship, which is a residential program. We give a senior data scientist in place to support our fellows to deliver their projects. We also support fellows with building their soft skills, working on their presentation skills. And ultimately, at the end of the process, we want them to be professionals who are ready to be deployed and to work within international companies. There's a few ways for you to get involved in Ishango and in our mission. One is you could host a data science project. So if you're a company that has a data science need, you can have 2 dedicated data scientists from us, handpicked and supported to work full-time for 8 weeks on your project. So if that's something that sounds of interest, please do feel free to reach out to us via our website. But you can also volunteer as a mentor. So if you're somebody that really cares about our mission to create jobs and build skills, you can volunteer with us and be a part of the program. And I had a last one there. Can I just get my slide back, if that's all right? Yeah. And the last one is to become an education partner. So like I said, we're partnering with universities to recruit and find the best data science talent and also continue to build a pipeline across the region. So that's something that you can, if any of that sounds of interest, please do feel free to go to ishango.ai and reach out to us. So back to the topic for today, African data scientists, a talent pool. I have some panelists who are going to join me today, and I would like to invite them to join me on the digital stage. And I'll ask them to introduce themselves very briefly. So welcome, Christian, Faith, Oliver. So first of all, we have Christian Kilonzo, who works with development initiatives, and he's going to be talking to us about why building capacity around data science is really important towards sustainable development in Africa. We have Faith, who is actually currently undertook the Ishango Fellowship Program and is currently placed on a project working for a US-based data science company. And last but not least, we have Oliver, who is a co-founder with Ishango alongside me, and is our tech lead and a data scientist who's actually spent a lot of time working with some of our fellows and can talk about some of the talent and the potential he sees across the region. So welcome, everyone. And I'll just start going I guess clockwise with you, Christian, if you could just briefly introduce yourself and what you do.
All right. Hi, everyone. As Eunice just introduced me, my name is Christian Kilonzo. I work with development initiatives as an information systems analyst. And that basically means I do work in data landscaping, information architecture, designing systems here and there, and also giving support to global financial assistance tracking on a platform we have called IATI. That's the International Aid Transparency Initiative. I work out of Nairobi. I have a background in health research, so from time to time I might dip into examples from that perspective, just for context. Looking forward to having this conversation with everyone.
Great, thanks, Christian. And over, Oliver, could you go next?
Sure. So I'm Oliver. I'm a co-founder of Ishango. I am originally from Cape Town, South Africa, but I've lived in Zurich for the last 10 years. I have about 10 years of experience in the area of data science and data engineering. I studied at the university in Zurich, statistics and climate science. Then I did a PhD in Sydney, Australia. And about 3.5 years ago, I returned to Switzerland to take up a data science position at one of the large banks in Switzerland. Around mid last year, I decided I wanted to do something a little bit different with my life and found a job advertisement for a 2-month on-site data science volunteer for one of the Ishango fellowship programs. And that was just an eye-opening experience for me. So I was supervising 12 different young and talented master graduates that had graduated in the areas of computer science and mathematics or physics. And we were delivering projects for 6 different host companies. And that was just an awesome experience for me. I love data science. I have a connection to Africa since I grew up in Cape Town, and I love teaching. So actually, a few months ago, I resigned from my job in Switzerland, and now I'm full-time working for Ishango, supporting on all of the different data science projects.
Great. And Faith, last but not least.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Faith Benson. I'm from Kilifi, Kenya. I have a background in mathematics, and I have a master's in mathematical sciences and machine learning. Currently, I'm working remotely with a company based in US. I'm a data scientist. So I'm working for Ishango, but I'm posted at Elder Research Company in US. Thank you.
Great. And Faith was actually one of our fellows, and we're going to delve into her experience and how that has impacted her career path. But yeah, I wanted to start with you, Christian, to sort of lay the scene. I think for us at Ishango, there's 2 things we bring together, right? Data science talent and value for business, and also impact. So, we really care. We're a social enterprise at heart, and creating high-skilled jobs and creating opportunities and driving sustainable development is important to us. So could you lay the scene for us in terms of why this discussion is important in terms of being linked to sustainable development in Africa? Why is it important to build data capacity, data skills, just based on the work you do and your experiences?
All right, fantastic. Thank you, Eunice. So what I'm going to do is split that question into 2. We're going to look at it first from why is it important to build this capacity here in Africa, and then look at the sustainable development side. So for one, this is, I think, first, it's extremely timely because we now have an enabling environment across a continent where we have enough connectivity, and most of our governments are moving digital, and so our digital economies are now just getting into their prime or just starting to pick up. And so I was thinking about this earlier, and I thought that possibly some of the biggest points to delve into would be, one, we need our governments and our business to be supported in this venture as they're getting into digital economy, from the point of whether you're looking at it from designing these data systems and designing not necessarily from software and engineering perspective, but from a data perspective, trying to figure out what kind of data needs to go in here. We also need to look at then how do we optimize what we already have. We need to create data standards so that then whatever comes out of across a continent is interoperable. but also something I'd like to call priority alignment and contextualization. So we've had a lot of situations of people looking from the outside in, but now I firmly believe that we need people on the inside looking in. So if I can give you just a quick example, again, like I said, with my little being quite about 8 years experience from in health research, if we take an example of a system that's used across in most African countries in health, that's DHIS2. This was built by the University of Oslo. It's a brilliant piece of tech, but has challenges with contextualization, because when you look at the disease occurrences, things like Ebola or neglected tropical diseases don't occur there but occur here. So we need to have, these are significantly quite important diseases, and these need to be included onto this. So we need people who can now look into what we have and now adapt it. But now, if we venture further and ask ourselves, how does this contribute to sustainable development? One, we currently have the Sustainable Development Goals that all our countries across the continent track. However, the questions then we've been having is that then a few of the NSOs, those are national statistics offices, have now opened up to getting data from citizen generated data, like here in Kenya. And so that then means across the value chain with the civil society organizations, non-governmental organizations, and also some of private sector, the data that's being produced can go into measuring the progress we've made. So we can literally, this is an area that then has limitless opportunities, whether we look at it from the perspective of measuring the resource effectiveness, whether like what we are doing at DI is tracking international developmental assistance, that's international aid, looking at where it's coming from, where it's gone, and how it's been used, to innovating and creating new development assessment metrics. We can find where the biggest need is and allocate our funds there, because we're very cognizant that across the continent, our governments have one issue, that then our finances are not necessarily big enough to meet all the issues at one go. But if we can use data to prioritize these things, this would create a new opportunity where the resources that we have could go to the highest impact projects and give us a much better result. So for instance, what do I mean by this is that then, again, back to the issue of health, we can use satellite imagery to predict disease occurrence. Say, if we take malaria, for instance, we know we need a few things for malaria to happen. We need breeding mosquitoes. So that means if we take satellite imagery and pull out what we call the watershed delineation, basically look at where's water going to pool, where do we have soil types that allow waterlogging, and then overlay this with where do we know we have mosquitoes. And just like that, we just created a risk map for malaria. But now if we now take this and run it through, say, for instance, hospital records, and just look at where we had occurrences of these diseases and during which periods, we now know which months that we're likely to be most vulnerable. And basically, this can be replicated for quite a number of diseases. And now, not stopping there, this data can then go out to the governments to help them figure out then what drugs do you need to disperse where. Because a lot of times what happens around here is on the issue of drugs is that then we'll give all the drugs to all the facilities across the country just in case something happens. However, when you go into the data, you find that in some cases, the hospitals that get drugs for diseases that historically have not happened since, say, 1902. So the question then becomes, do we still need to be running our sectors like this? So I believe, one, just in summarizing all this, that it's in a fantastically timely point in time for our digital economies. We need to have solutions that are created with us, for us, and by us. And we also need to have localization and contextualization for those that are being adapted here. And so I think that for a start, we're in the right place at the right time. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's a really good sort of introduction and sort of foundation for our discussion. I just wanted to also share just an anecdote from one of our companies that sort of, showcases your message around why it's important to localize, and the fact that having those local insights is really valuable. So one of our companies last year was called Simprints, and they do biometric data. And in the final presentation, our fellow was able to give insights around some of the data that we're collecting from fingerprints was not very good. And she kind of came up with a theory of, the people in this region that you're collecting data from, they're farmers, so their hands, because they're used to doing, we still don't have a lot of tractors, they're using manual tools, their hands, the fingerprint is not getting good data because they're coarse and things like that. And this is something that obviously the international team sitting from wherever had not even thought about, right? So it just goes to show, for the impact, for designing things to have an impact, even from a business perspective, the insights you can have if you're a company, for example, looking to expand into Africa, using a local data scientist who knows the ground can really add value. But yeah, I just wanted to move on to you, Oliver, because you also had a bit you wanted to share with us just in terms of the context and the stats around data science capacity in Africa.
Sure. So I also, just like Christian, wanted to divide this answer up into two parts. So the first is the macroeconomic context. So where does Africa kind of stand in comparison to the global economy? And then my personal experience, so working with Africans during fellowships and post-fellowship. So I have some statistics here from McKinsey. I'm a big fan of McKinsey. I like how they do a lot of rigorous research on different topics. So Africa accounts for 17% of the world's population, but only 3% of its GDP. And this is clearly indicates that there's a large gap here that could be filled by I mean, it's not just data science. There's a lot of business and value that could be added to the global economy just from employees in Africa. And then another statistic was it's the world's second fastest growing region, and by 2034, Africa's workforce is predicted to be larger than that of China, which is just a staggering statistic because we know how large the workforce in China is, and if that's something, if that statistic is true, then I'm totally in line with Christian about where we are in this kind of digital curve. So I think another thing that's kind of an indicator of the potential of this digital economy growing in Africa is that the cost of living in Africa is cheaper than many other countries in the West. So that's just it's just a fact, and that's the fact that there's also a lot of talented people there, and data science is picking up at the moment in Africa. That's a sign that companies in the West can take advantage of that because it's affordable for them. So that's the kind of the larger picture. And then from my personal perspective, so of course there's a lot of talent in Africa. You just have to nurture it and find that talent. I've been exposed to the most talented people because of the kind of recruitment process that Ishango has in place. But I think there's a lot more people than I've had exposure to that could do very useful work for companies globally and within Africa. So I spent 2 months, as mentioned in my introduction, in Kigali in Rwanda, working alongside these 12 very talented not students, but recently graduated students on these different data science projects. So all of these students were AIMS graduates. Now we've expanded our scope to attract talent from anywhere across Central Africa. But I know exactly what it's like to work alongside these people delivering for these data science companies globally. So I've learned a lot from working alongside them. They kind of probe me for information. Sometimes I don't know how to help them. I have to research these topics myself. The projects are very broad. They're very diverse. So I've had to learn about natural language processing. I've had to learn about anomaly detection using deep learning techniques like autoencoders. Data science is basically just a massive field. you can spend a lifetime trying to improve your skills. So
I'm just curious, Oliver, really thank you for that. What is it like, do you feel, having worked for, big international companies yourself, and now being part of that process of African talent being linked to international companies, what are you finding in terms of, from the company's perspective? Is there a change of mindset? How is the talent sort of perceived, received? Is it breaking down certain preconceptions about the continent, or is it sort of all, yeah, it's great talent? Is it a universal message that, yeah, talent is evenly distributed, or do you think that it's a message we need to keep reiterating over and over? I don't know if my question is clear.
I think my connection is staggering.
Yeah,
okay,
froze
now
for a
I'm
little
back.
bit.
I don't know if it was just me.
Did you catch
Okay.
that?
I got the question. I think it depends a lot on the host company. So some of the host companies have a lot of very qualified data scientists embedded within those teams, and we're working alongside them. So to kind of impress them is more difficult than a host company where there isn't much technical expertise. So I guess that's the short answer. Yeah, like it's very varied. I think the training and the kind of theoretical understanding and technical abilities are there. I think what is most challenging maybe for the fellows, but Faith can speak to this, is the working in this business environment for a leading company in data science, having deliverables, having these strict deadlines. I think that's probably most new to the fellows. It's not about talent. It's more the experience of working for these kind of world-class companies.
Yeah, and I guess that then the fellowship is really like a really strong part of trying to prepare them for that and kind of get them ready.
Exactly.
All right. I hope that's not Faith frozen, because I wanted to move to you. Are you still there? Yeah. Can you hear me, Faith?
Yes, I can hear you, Eunice.
Yeah, so moving to you, because I think it's really, really nice to bring in your perspective, because you're the talent that we're talking about. We can talk theoretically about this talent that exists, but we have Faith here, who is one of an example of this talent we're talking about. And I'd like to give Faith the opportunity for you to share, just very briefly. I know I've heard your full story, but just briefly, what it's been, first of all, very briefly, your journey to finding this opportunity within an international company, and then talk about like what has your experience been being, so first of all, as a African young talent, being now immersed working with an international global team, what that transition has been like, and what has helped you to transition. And then later on, also, maybe we can talk about why do you think it's important that this sort of remote working model can really help to create opportunities. So again, it's a two-sided question, but feel free to, take us back a little bit and then address it in two parts like the others have.
All right, thank you so much, Eunice. Okay, my journey began last year on September, whereby I got the privilege or opportunity to do the Ishango internship program at Kigali. So when I was there, I worked with Elder Research Company, and I was privileged to work with these great talented minds. So the team was very supportive, and what made me manage to go through successfully in that program was I was ready to learn. Like we were assigned different diverse tasks which require different skills, of which now you are supposed to do, like you are supposed to learn like every single day of of your working day. So the opportunity was very great. I had a chance to learn new things from the experts that I was working with. And through that, I expanded my knowledge and skills. And through hard work and going an extra mile to perform well or to deliver well, I was absorbed by the company that I was doing my internship with. So right now I'm here in Kenya working remotely, still with the company that I did my internship with, and the experience is very great. I'm happy that I'm here in Kenya, in Africa. I'm adding value to an international company. I'm still expanding my knowledge, my skills, and my confidence is increasing in tackling real world problems. So I've done a lot in the short period that I've worked with this company. I'm tasked with diverse tasks, including data pre-processing, simulation of data, and even data modeling. So it's not easy to handle such kind of tasks. As I have said, that it's require a lot of learning. You learn every day, and through that, you find that you're able to contribute in providing solutions, effective solutions to the company that you're working with. So this has helped me so much. I feel that I can now have the confidence to apply for bigger and better opportunities, but okay, not at the moment. At the moment, I'm still learning. So I've also increased my thinking, reasoning capacity, because we're here working with people that after working, you need to present what you have achieved, and what you're presenting has to make sense. So you need to think out of the box in order for you to be able to have outstanding or good results that can make sense in a business setting. So okay.
Can I ask Faith as well? Like working remotely, obviously, is quite different from. I don't know if you'd worked remotely before, but what have you found like the most challenging around the model of not having a typical sort of, the one office where you go and all your workmates are there, adapting to that? What have you found the most challenging? But also maybe, and then also, how have you adapted to that?
Okay. The challenge that I'm facing is the time difference. So with that, you need to ensure that you are managing your time very well, so as to keep in touch with the people that you're working with. I'd like to give an example. If they need to communicate with you, and you need to give back. You need to give a feedback in time. So sometimes you need to stay up late because of the time difference, so as to keep in touch with them and to ensure that things run up very well. So that is the only challenge that I'm facing right now, but I'm happy that I manage it very well.
Fantastic. And the last thing from you, just because we've previously chatted about it, and I'd really like everyone to sort of hear your thoughts on this, is what does it mean to you for the fact that because of this room, you're able to work remotely for the international company, that you're able to stay at home in, with your area where you grew up, contributing to, I mean, I don't want to preempt your answer, but what does it mean to you that the fact that you haven't had to leave to go, move to the US to be able to access that opportunity?
Okay, working remotely has helped me so much to contribute to my to contribute in providing or have a difference, making a difference in my community. Like right now, I'm involved in small programs whereby I make change in my community, providing sanitary towels to young school girls in primary schools. And also, I'm also contributing in providing school fees to the less privileged pupils in primary school. So I find that it's really useful and it is helpful in terms of ensuring that we are making impact to our community. As compared to when maybe if I could be away there, then maybe it could have taken time for me to organize and be able to contribute back to my country. But because of I'm already here, so it's easier for me to. I mean, it is easier for me to contribute the small that I'm having now, and I'm really happy that I'm making it happen. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Faith. So I guess, we've been a bit on a journey with the audience, right? Like we've looked at, data science, talent, capacity, and how it can contribute to the development at a sort of macro level. Oliver told us about, the specifically the talent and the immense talent he's seen and his experience working with them. And Faith has given us sort of the micro perspective on not only what it's like to be one of those talents, but also then the impact at the individual level that can happen. And I guess, circling this back to, the topic today, an untapped talent pool, I just wanted to get from all of my panelists, just to close off before we open for audience questions, what do you think, what is still left or what is needed for this to become mainstream, for this to become something that can happen at scale, that Africa is seen as the go-to place that companies think, oh, I need a data scientist, let's look at Africa, because I guess we all agree that's not necessarily now the case. Certainly from our interactions with companies, we find we do have to kind of take them on a journey to let them know that the talent is there, that the talent is capable, and kind of support them also through the fellowship. But just thinking, now and in the future, maybe I want to start with you, Christian, again, because we haven't heard from you in a few minutes. But what are the challenges, opportunities you see for this to grow, for this to become, a scalable solution?
Fantastic. So I'm just going to tap into what Oliver talked about one, the growing size of our population. One presents with AFCFTA, that's Africa Continental Free Trade Area, we're going to be a significant market. And that means a good number of these global companies are going to want to do business with Africa. What better way to do business with Africa by not getting the unique perspectives and the insights that can be gained, like you mentioned on the fingerprint issue, than having Africans on board? There's a whole issue of employment, and Faith being the living, breathing testament of this, that then she's able to have impact in the place she grew up while still making global contribution is again something fantastic. What challenges are standing between us in this is, I think from my experience with people, is that then there's a barrier of possibility in that then in a lot of our places people haven't dipped too much into STEM. And where they have, a lot of this talent ends up going to the traditional areas of medicine, architecture, and everything. So I think it's just an issue of then creating youth awareness that, hey, you can actually have a career opportunity that's fulfilling. And the old adages of African parents that you have three options if you perform well. That's a doctor, a lawyer, or an architect. I think we need to break out of those and just push this as a viable, respectable career opportunity that also gives you, I think, post-COVID, all the three traditional areas I mentioned miss one thing, and what Faith is enjoying, the work-life balance. I think we're going through the great resignation, and all people are seeking is being able to have a better quality of life. That's whether taking what you earn to a place where it'll give you more, or being able to work by the beach in a mountain cabin, or whatever makes you feel at peace. And being able to work, that's what working remotely basically is. And so this brings the best of both worlds. If you look at the other side of remuneration, data science is pretty well ranked. So whether you're looking at it from a remuneration perspective, a work-life balance perspective, an impact perspective, because again, as Oliver mentioned, this is basically an area that you can apply your powers to anything, really, anything. So I tapped into health, a little bit into finance, and as DI, we look to create evidence basis for policy making because we believe that's what creates greatest impact. But this is a field that allows you to work in any industry because data, again, is the new oil. And so I think this is a new oil engineering course. Thank you.
Very well put, Christian. Thank you for that. And I think the point you made around the free trade area and just Africa being a market, I think it's really important to highlight that, be above and beyond, working with data science talent on their current projects, companies that are able to tap into it now are sort of future-proofing their businesses, because this is where there's going to be growth opportunities in the next few decades. And if you already are tapped into the insights and working with the talent, then you're definitely sort of ready for the trend. But over to you, Oliver, again, just to contribute to what you think needs to happen next, what are challenges, opportunities for taking this to the next level?
I think one of the biggest challenges for continuing growth in the digital space in Africa is local understanding of how data science can bring value to their businesses. So data science is very well understood in the West. It's kind of quite established. People understand very well, even if they're not data scientists themselves, the value of machine learning, predictive analytics, statistics, deep learning. And my impression is that the Africa is behind on the curve. And that's why I find this conversation very exciting, because it's going to explode. It's going to grow exponentially. And I think first, it might actually come first from the West. So businesses like Ishango will thrive because the West, data scientists are very expensive. And people want the highest return on investment, obviously. So they're going to tap into talent in Africa. They're going to outsource. And then what is happening now, a bit behind on the curve, is that businesses in Africa are realizing that this is really worthwhile, and they're following suit. So it's this, everyone's heard of data science. A lot of people don't really know what it is and how it can bring value to their companies. But I think that this will change.
Absolutely. Thanks for that. And when you were talking about how, there's not a lot of recognition about what data science is, it took me back to Christian, your comment about African parents. I'm originally from Uganda, and I can imagine, trying to tell my parents I want to do data science. I think they would probably be impressed by the science bit. So they would be like, okay, science, maybe it's sort of like engineering, sort of like doctor, you could get away with it. But yeah, absolutely, like that lack of understanding of what it is also critical. It needs, a challenge and something that needs to change for the greater adoption. So thanks for highlighting that, Oliver. Before I invite Faith to speak, I just wanted to have the audience, please prepare your questions. After this, we'll be inviting your questions. Feel free to type them in the chat and we'll share them with the panelists. You can direct it to a specific panelist or just send a general question or comment, or if you're a talent and thinking about how you can build a career and it's something you want to talk to, ask Faith about, please do feel free to share. Or if you're a company as well, feel free. So Faith, over to you. What do you think are still the challenges and opportunities around companies being able to work with more talent like yourself?
Okay, I'd like to agree with what Oliver and Christian have said, that still much work has to be done to make people understand what is this data science. For example, also facing it's a challenge for me For example, from where I'm coming from, like many people do not understand what I'm doing. Like I need to use practical language for them to be able to understand. So it's upon us that have the enlightenment on what is data science to be able to ensure that this knowledge is shared across Africa and everyone know what is happening with data science. And if we will ensure that Africa is rich in knowledge in data science, then definitely the global companies will be comfortable or will have the confidence in us. And this, I think, will create many opportunities for African people. Yeah.
Thank you for that, Faith. And I guess also to highlight the comment that Oliver made around local companies following suit. And for us at Ishango, this is what we desire to see. Like Oliver said, right now, we focus on international companies because that's where there is that already existing adoption and use of data science. But as we continue to build a local talent pool, as we continue to see local companies and organizations and governments sort of are starting to adopt and use data science more, we want to be that partner also ready. And even currently, actually, if there's local companies, if you're a local company based in Africa and want to use data science more, that's definitely something that we can help support you on. But yeah, I wanted to, before I guess I go around asking for closing comments, I wanted to open up to the audience. Do we have any questions from the audience? So we have one from Margaret. Are there any fellowship opportunities for fellows in Kenya? Yes, and actually you've preempted it because I wanted to do a little plug about Ishango and the fact that we'll be opening up applications. So we currently have a fellowship. We run fellowships in West Africa. So our hub is Accra, Ghana. And in East Africa, currently our hub is in Rwanda, and we're also potentially looking at expanding in Kenya. So just stay posted. We are going to be opening up applications that we're aiming for East Africa in the first quarter of next year. So just go onto our website, join our mailing list, so you'll always be the first one to know. Faith is based in Kenya, but she participated in the fellowship in Kigali. But like I said, we are actually speaking to a few partners in Kenya to host a program there. So thanks for your interest, and we hope to look forward to welcoming you to our community. Any other comments or questions? Maybe if the team could let us know if there's any more. Otherwise, I will. Okay. Same question. Fellowship opportunities in Zambia. So again, I think Zambia probably. So we don't have a hub in South Africa. Maybe Oliver, that should be like in our mid-term or longer-term plan, given that you are, from that side of the region. But I think what I'll say, I guess, to anyone else who's asking about your country is we are obviously supporting people we're training, and then we're connecting you to remote working opportunities. So wherever you're based in Africa, we want to be able to find your talent, nurture it. So do we encourage you to apply? Right now, we kind of have two East and West Africa hubs. So obviously we'll prioritize talent that's close there because it's easier to work time zone wise to have people in the same sort of a region. But we are ambitious. We are only about 18 months old, but we are ambitious and want to be able to have talent from anywhere in the region. So just keep posted, keep following us, keep in conversation with us. We always have opportunities for you, even if you're not in our countries. We have scholarships. We recently launched an opportunity, scholarships with DataQuest for you to go on and continue to build your skills until we are there. But what I like about seeing the comments coming in is, again, seeing the enthusiasm, seeing the talent that's out there that's saying, I'm here, I'm in this country, can you come? Where is the opportunity? And just seeing how much appetite there is for what we're doing is really exciting. So thank you all for that. But yeah, follow us. How can African companies and NGOs tap into this talent pool? We kind of touched on that a little bit. I don't know if you want to kind of just add a little bit onto that, Christian, and then Oliver as well, because you both sort of touched on it a bit. We can start with you, Christian.
Well, I believe that then this is just an issue of creating a value proposition for these people. Speaking from a person in Kenya, that we do have talent around data science, and it's just about the need. And for instance, development initiatives or DI, we, again, just tapping into this, that we create an evidence basis for policy making, but also supporting other NGOs. So there are many avenues where you can tap into the talent pool, either depending on how much of, again, like Oliver talked about, the cost element, whether it's now tapping into a shared resource or reaching out to people like Ishango and asking them for talent. The opportunities are there, the networks are there, and so I think it's just leveraging the existing networks and just trying to find what works best for your use case.
Oliver, do you have anything to add?
I think the question should also be the question shouldn't just be about how you can find the best talent. It's also about how you can make use of this talent within your organization. You can find the strongest young Africans to work in your company, but if you cannot find a good use case for them, they may end up they may be very good at tuning parameters in a neural network all day long, but it's not driving any business value in the end. So my suggestion is to think of the whole business. Don't just think of finding the best talent. Think of how you can use data science. So first, kind of educate yourself. If you don't know much about data science, educate yourself how it can be used. And then you can try to fit people to solve those particular problems.
Yeah, and maybe Oliver, if I could add to that, my experience, I spent the first half of my career working in East Africa. Like I said, I'm originally from Uganda. And I think one of the things that's also needed is a cultural shift just to data-driven decision-making, right? I think a lot of the times in Africa, we do business based on relationships, based on, not necessarily rooted in let's look at the facts, let's look at the numbers, let's examine the data. So I think, even in like you said, finding one piece is finding the talent, one piece is having a good use case and being able to leverage the talent. But even before that, I think is sort of a mindset shift that's needed around recognizing the value and really putting value on data-driven insights. That's what I would say. I don't know. Yeah, there's another question from Hubert. What are your methodologies or plans to help your followers perform well in industries, companies, as it's not always easy to move from research to business? I think, Oliver, you'd be the best person to answer this. I think overall, the question is asking, how are we supporting our fellows to perform well? How are we preparing them to work in industry, in companies? Because some of them, if you're making the shift from research to business, and even extending that question to say, if you're moving from a context of maybe, different context from your local African country to an international stage, what are we doing to prepare our fellows?
When you say research, I assume you mean academic studies. I'm not sure if many of our fellows have had a research career outside of their kind of their education. So that's exactly what the fellowship is for. That's the bridge. They get deployed within these organizations and they work on a project for 2 months. And we have senior data scientists in Ishango like myself to help guide them. So there are a lot of challenges moving from research to industry. I faced the same challenges when I finished my PhD and I started to work for a bank in Switzerland. I think what you have to think of more is you don't have as much time to fiddle around and explore. When you're working in industry, you want to deliver something that drives business value. it's not you don't necessarily need to use the greatest and latest deep neural net. You just need to do whatever it takes to help the business, and that's the very big difference between industry and research.
It reminds me of something you always say, Oliver, which is start with the simplest tool. Like sometimes I think when you come from research or you come straight from your master's or your PhD, you're thinking, what's the coolest, most complicated thing you can do? And you always like strip it back and and that's something you've sort of instilled into our fellows is what is the simplest rough solution we can start with, and then let's build on that.
Exactly.
Next question. I think we have a few more coming in. This one is directed to you, Christian. Where can one get the resource to study the project you mentioned earlier on integrating satellite imagery with predictive analysis in healthcare? That was interesting. Do you have any more info to share, or should I connect with you?
Well, let me just make something quick. Just after what Oliver said, this doesn't necessarily have a direct business case, and so you tend to find that these end up being donor-funded projects that occur mostly within the research field. So that would be a start, but feel free to reach out after, and we can have a conversation further about this.
Feel free to connect with Christian on LinkedIn. I think is probably the best to find out more about the project. Or again, we're happy to facilitate and send it through if there's any information to share. Kenny says, thanks for the presentation. I'd like to know if during the Shango Fellowship you use real data in order to solve real problems in Africa. Oliver, do you want to answer that? And I can add on.
It's always real data. There's no point in not using real data, or there's usually no point in not using real data. Faith can tell you a little bit about some data synthesis she's been working on, but that's just an edge case. So it depends where the host company is. So if it's a host company in Africa, we do work with one company that has quite a lot of offices across Africa. Other companies have problems wherever they're located. So it's not like we're trying to solve any. It's not like we're focused. We're honed in on Africa itself for the problems, for the projects. Depends wherever we can find good clients.
And I guess the one thing I'll add on is, even though we don't necessarily focus on, we focus on the problem and the brief that the client gives us and what they're in the solution. And I'll give you we've helped to build, one of our fellows have helped build a recommender system for an online UK company that sells dog food, to predicting mental health diseases for a company in Australia, to predicting hydroelectric plant failures, which is the project that Faith is working on for a US-based company. But I think overarchingly, we really, our goal is we're building skills that are relevant for solving African problems. So what Faith is doing now with hydroelectric plants, of course, there's hydroelectric plants across Africa. Who knows where the skills she's learning and developing will take her next. We've had fellows working on a project for satellite imagery in agriculture space. So, agriculture is huge. Food security is an issue. So, thinking beyond just the projects we work on during the fellowship, we really believe that we are building skills that will help to solve Africa's problems in the future. Next question. How many companies are we currently working with? Off the top of my head, I will say we've now worked with about 10 companies.
I think it's a bit more. In the fellowship we had close to 7.
But anyway, so we I guess what I'll say is we aim for a cohort size of about 12 to 16 fellows a year, and there's 2 fellows working on each project. So each fellowship we're aiming to support between 6 to 8 companies. And the reason for this small cohort size for us is to make sure that we're able to fully support the fellows, that they're delivering at a high quality level, and that our ultimate goal is to see like the outcome we saw with where the company is impressed and they're able to take on the talent full time. So I would say that's our range. We're working between 12 to 16 companies a year Any other questions? Does Ishango train for specific industries? I mean, Oliver, you can jump in if correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we are sector agnostic because we're really following what the problems that the companies want to solve. So any data-driven problem, and like I gave an example of the range from marketing to sort of industrial engineering to healthcare. With financial services is another big one. So it's really about where the companies are, and our job at Ishango is finding talent that has that the right skill set and also the right interest in terms of where they want to go in their career. So earlier when I presented about Ishango, I showed about the matching process. It's really very core to what we do, is finding the right talent that is the right fit for a project. Any other questions? During the fellowship program, do fellows work on end-to-end data science projects? Oliver?
Well, again, end-to-end is kind of subjective. Where does it start? Where does it end?
Sounds like a philosophical question.
I think it is a philosophical question, yeah. So the larger the pipeline that you're working in, the better, in my opinion, to get a full view of like the data acquisition, the data engineering, the data science, even dashboards in the end. But there's only so much a resource can do. And you don't want to you don't want to get overwhelmed by doing too much. So that's something that our talents can work on if they've stayed with a company for a while. That would be just off the top of my head, what I would do. When they start, it's better to focus. And it's good to have like a clear deliverable for the fellowship, so that you don't get sidetracked or distracted by a dozen of different things going on. This, as I mentioned, data science is a massive field. So it's really good to have a clear kind of question that you want to answer using data.
And I guess just to add on a little bit to that is, like I presented in our process earlier, the scoping is another really key part of our process, is making sure, like Oliver said, we have a real tangible deliverable that comes out of the fellowship program. Because at the end of the day, we want the companies, for the company, it means you get a tangible outcome. So we scope it so that we know it's an 8-week program. So don't bring a scope that's going to take 2 years to complete. We really work together with you to make sure that it's something that we think is achievable and deliverable and will add real value to organization within that short period of time. And what we've seen from working with the talent is that 8 weeks, you can actually do a lot. And so, yeah, that's definitely, if you're a company thinking about doing this, please do feel free to reach out. We will support you through that project scoping phase. We're out of okay, this is the last question because we're actually out of time. And so we're just going to use the last minute to wrap up. Are there any plans for the 2 months fellowship hosted in Nigeria? Not currently. Like I mentioned, we're currently using Ghana and Accra as our West Africa base. So we do consider talent from neighboring countries, sort of Nigeria. Again, it's all about us finding the right project and finding talent that has the right skills and matches. And then obviously sort of trying to be strategic in where you're located, because we want to make sure that you're close to your teammate, not working across multiple time zones. So there's a time zone difference with the company and then a time zone different between you and your team, etc. So we're strategically trying to sort of keep it so that you're closer to, within the region. So no for now, but maybe in the future that will change. So we've talked about a lot of things today. Hopefully it's been valuable for you, our audience. Hopefully we've helped to spark your thinking and inspired you thinking about the data science talent in Africa, some of the massive opportunity it presents, opportunity for sustainable development, like Christian talked to us, opportunity for business growth, like Oliver really emphasized, and opportunities for individuals to get opportunities to create impact in their communities, like Faith has shown us. Please join me in thanking my panelists for your time today. I've really enjoyed this discussion. I felt like it could have gone on, Thank you to the audience for your participation and engagement. It's been really good to see the interest in Ishango and what we do. And we hope to see you at our next event, or if you're interested in applying, we hope to receive your application. And if you're interested in a company interested in working with us, we hope to hear from you soon. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Christian. Thank you, Faith. Take care.